All right, welcome again to RMBC 2. In this first module, before we dive into the reimagined RMBC method and all the other amazing stuff that you saw in the intro, we're going to just talk about copywriting and the state of direct response in 2025. And I'm trying to do this video in this section so that it's both beginner friendly for people who really don't know anything and people who are more seasoned vets and who may know parts of this but also can benefit from a reminder. And we'll probably hopefully see some unique insights as well. Okay, so what are we going to be covering? What are we going to be covering? Sometimes I combine my words and talk fast. We'll talk about what is copywriting, the two crucial customer journeys you need to understand, what sales funnels look like in 2025, the true purpose of direct response marketing, context is king, or I could even say why context is king. So why all advertising starts with product market awareness and platform specific strategies, and then a little bit about the RMBC II approach and how it simplifies complexity and leverages AI. Now, frankly, you already saw a lot about this in the intro module. Originally, I didn't know that I was going to do that intro module and realized I needed to. And so we'll talk about this a little bit. But let's just kind of get started, right? What is copywriting? Okay, and I know there's a lot of stuff on here and you might be reading ahead. I get it. Try to stick with me. I didn't want to make this into a PowerPoint. There's just no point. Okay, what is copywriting? It's like the art and science of writing advertisements, okay? And so simple from that context. Like there's no magic thing for copywriting. It's just like it's writing ads. And of course, that's a huge part of what RMBC 2 is about. But if we think about it, the really important thing about RMBC 2, and I think this would be different from RMBC 1, is copywriting doesn't exist in a vacuum. I think in RMBC 1, the original RMBC, like I talked about all these different elements, right? A sales letter, an ad, whatever it was, but I don't think it was holistic enough. And the change even since 2020, even though I'd scaled things, I had all this success, and at the time of RMBC 1 is since then I've just scaled more businesses, really been in the trenches on so much stuff, and worked with thousands of copywriters and hundreds of business owners and all of that stuff, and it's like copywriting is cool, but it doesn't exist in a vacuum. And so many, especially for you freelance copywriters who are watching RMBC 2, and maybe you're earlier on, you sort of think like, okay, I write emails for the company and they make money, I make money. I write video sales letter, I write sales pages, I write advertorials, whatever it is. And even for in-house copywriters, right? Like businesses hire copywriters and say, write us emails, write this. But it's like, that doesn't work. You really need to understand the holistic view and the holistic picture, which comes back to product market awareness and platform specific strategies. And also, what is the journey, right? What is the journey that somebody is on? And the first journey, and the one we'll focus on mostly in this video, is the journey from prospect to purchaser, right? So that's where they start at point A, they're not a customer, and then through your efforts, which include copywriting, right, they arrive at point B, which is becoming a paying customer. And it's really, if we're staying simple so far, you're writing ads that help somebody go from point A, not a customer, to point B, they become a customer. And then there's a second journey where they go from a customer to a repeat champion, or just another repeat customer, right? They already bought once, now they buy again and again and again. And that can happen in an upsell. So right after they buy, they're given an upsell. Hey, buy more stuff, right? It can happen with email marketing over the course of weeks, months, or years. It can happen through SMS, call center, all kinds of other things we can do, right? Content. So we're going to mostly focus on that first journey in this intro. We're guiding someone from point A, not a customer, to point B, a customer. And that first journey is often visualized as a sales funnel, okay? So this is just one way of looking at a sales funnel. You've got your advertisement, maybe there's some organic discovery or a recommendation from a friend, whatever it is. Somebody becomes aware of your brand or product or service that you're writing for, right? So a simple way of looking at it, when they see an ad for your product. Now they're aware of it. If the product generates their interest through curiosity and emotional connection, speaking to their pain point, whatever other thing it is, they click the ad, right? They get to your website, they're sold even more, their desire increases, right? And it's not just a desire for the product, it's a desire to solve their pain point. We'll go through all this in depth in RMBC, don't worry, right? But their desire to solve their pain point increases, and hopefully they take action, right? So this is a classic ADA framework, right? But awareness, interest, desire, action. They take action, they buy, okay? So like, that's sort of like the psychological journey. And as I put here, how does it begin? Well, it could be an advertisement. Like that's mostly what we'll focus on in RMBC 2. It could be organic discovery. They browse on Amazon, they Google something and see an organic SEO result. A friend recommends it, whatever it is. But we'll focus on advertisements. And there's like a lot of ways that a customer sees an ad, right? And the digital landscape is vast. So they can see ads on Facebook and Instagram, native ads, TikTok, YouTube, Google Display, in-app stuff on Shopify, Amazon, email marketing, and of course, even radio and TV. Now, am I going fast on this? And you're like, well, I don't know a lot about TikTok ads. That's okay. Guess what? We're going to have it covered in RMBC 2. Right, but those are all platforms where a prospective customer might encounter your ad. And what's really important to understand is that ads will typically look, feel, and be written differently depending on the platform. And we're going to explore that in depth below in this, well, kind of in depth in this video, and then hugely in depth throughout RMBC 2. But for now, let's just say, okay, they see an ad, and if it's a good ad, it compels that person to take action. So the ad elicits a direct response. And that, in essence, is direct response copywriting. It's writing ads and other marketing materials designed to get a prospective customer to take an immediate, measurable action, which could include calling a number, clicking a link, buying a product, sharing a post, sign up for a newsletter, and so on. So the point is that they're taking an action. And the sole criterion by which we really judge an ad's effectiveness, whether it's good or not, is its ability to get the right kind of people to consistently take the desired action when they see it. Okay? So let's process that for a moment together. Copywriting is like the art and science of writing ads, right? And really direct response copywriting is you're creating an ad that gets somebody, and not just somebody, but the right person to take the action we want them to take. Which in other words means we get them to directly respond to our ad, directly respond to our copywriting. That's direct response copywriting. And we say the right person, that comes back down to this idea of product market awareness, which we'll go into very in-depth in the next module as we begin research. On a broad level, what we mean is if I have an ad for a coffee brand, right? Let's say I have a coffee that also gives you energy without the caffeine crash, okay? Do I want 8-year-olds clicking on the ad? No. Do I want people who don't drink coffee clicking on the ad? Not really. Some of you might think, well, yeah, because what if they decide to drink coffee? It's like, okay, sure. That's hard. I want someone who's like a coffee drinker who loves coffee, but feels like they drink too much of it and is kind of thinking they should quit or cut back, but they don't want to, but they just really love coffee. That's who I want to click on my ad. Okay, that's cool. I want them to directly respond to my ad. Do I want somebody who's actively looking for coffee without the crash products to click on my ad? Yeah, them too. But that's where we understand product market awareness. Because it's like, well, where are most people going to be? We'll talk about this more. I don't want to ruin the next module. Right, but that's like the right person, not the 8-year-old who doesn't drink coffee, not the non-coffee drinker, the coffee drinker who loves coffee but is kind of doesn't like the negative effects of it. That's the right person. I want them to directly respond to my copywriting, to my ad. Okay, so let's assume we have a good ad. A prospect sees it and they respond by clicking, well, what happens next? In an ultra simplified version, go to a website, they add a product to their cart, and they check out and buy, right? Oh my God, easy peasy, we did it. We're done. And there's still there's always the celebration things. Just hold up a second. Yeah, we did it, okay? Easy peasy. And it can be that simple, actually. But realistically, it rarely is. The truth about direct response copywriting and direct response marketing in general is that context is important. And this is really not just, when I say direct response, I'm not talking about the old school, super aggressive, hour-long video sales letters. I'm just saying anything where you're getting somebody to respond directly. So this could be extremely branded, super clean e-com. It could be some crazy aggressive shit, like where somebody's using a deep fake of George Clooney. Doesn't matter. I'm not advocating for doing deep fakes. I'm just saying it could be anything, any type of marketing that elicits a direct response is that's what we're talking about, right? Context is important. So to understand why, if we go back to these different ad platforms, what you'll notice is that ads will look different depending on the platform. And it's not just that the ad will look different, it's that the customer journey will be different too. So we can look at some quick examples here. We'll look at YouTube, okay? You're on YouTube, you're watching a video, an ad pops up. Well, it's important to think about this. Why is the person on YouTube? Why do you go to YouTube? One of the biggest search engines in the world. Search engine, interesting. You're usually going on YouTube. I may have it down below, but it's either for education or entertainment, okay? So what does that mean for a YouTube ad? Usually you'll find that YouTube ads are video, mostly, which makes sense because if somebody goes to YouTube to watch videos, it makes sense that your ad would be a video, right? That's congruent. We'll talk about congruency more in a moment. I went here to watch videos. This is a video. But I didn't just go here to watch any video. I came here to watch entertaining videos or educational videos to learn. So guess what? Video ads that are more educational or entertaining or both will tend to outperform those that are just aggressively hard sell somebody. And where do they go after they click on a YouTube ad? Well, a lot of times they'll go, not always, but a lot of times they'll go to a page on your website that features another video. Why? Because they're already in video watching mode. And so, especially if you have a short video ad and it goes to a landing page that's a very obvious advertisement, the spell is broken. But if they go to a page that has a video, then also has some copy, but the video is prominently featured and they can watch it, and then more likely to buy. So that could be a video sales letter in the classic sense, but it could also be an e-com landing page. But let's look at another example. Let's look at native advertising. Okay, so we'll have a whole module, a lot of things on native advertising. Okay, native advertising though is you're on wherever you're on, weather.com, and you see from around the web, and they kind of look like they're going to be other news articles. So when I say news articles, that's important because who normally sees a native ad? Usually they're reading articles online. So it's news or celebrity gossip, how-to guides, sports updates, content related to one of their interests. So if I'm doing that, I always do Topeka, Kansas news. Okay. I'll make this fast. All right, Kansas Supreme Court makes license plate visibility ruling. Oh my gosh, top big news in Kansas right now, okay? I think this one will have it. So I'm reading the news, I'm a local person, I'm living in Kansas. Cool, sponsored content. Costco shoppers say this wrinkle cream is actually worth it. This skinny drink is going viral. Mouth wrinkles are no match for this little-known drugstore wrinkle cream. Here's a, drain edema. Smart way to eliminate fleas. So the point is, even though you can be they kind of look ridiculous, turns out they work. But if I click on this, if I'm on native and I'm reading an article, and then I click on, let's click on BugMD. even though this is sort of like it does show the product right away, the format of this sales page is kind of like an article, right? It's lots of reading, but I was just on a website reading lots of stuff. And then I get to a product page, okay? What if I click on this edema one? Reveal the shocking kitchen item causing your edema, hint it's not salt, okay? Even though it's not super like long, it feels like an article. I was just reading articles. That makes sense, right? Because the native ad kind of looks like, is designed to look and read like a link to an interesting news story, okay? Overall. And it's supposed to blend in with the surrounding content. Some places do a better job than others. You'll see that later in RMBC 2, some websites. And so where do they go after they click a native ad? Almost always to an advertorial, which is like an advertisement that's crafted to look and feel like an editorial piece or a news story because it maintains congruence. So congruence is maintaining a consistent feeling experience for a prospect throughout their journey from point A to point B. So again, if I'm reading about the Kansas Supreme Court's license plate visibility ruling, then I click this ad, and the ad takes me right to here. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why am I reading this ad? Pardon my language, but I'm going to cuss in RMBC too. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. If I come here, and again, I don't actually love this format, but at least here it's like a mobile, because people probably on mobile more. Yes, it shows this, but it sort of looks like something I would read as well, okay? And then I'm like, okay, I'm reading. It's not the worst. I click on that edema thing. This is going to go to a video sales letter, I imagine, right? Okay. So if I'm here, I click on this edema thing because I've got edema. It goes right to this big thing, click a video. I'm like, yeah, what the heck? I'm not going to watch a video. If it goes here, it kind of feels like another article about the shocking kitchen item causing your edema. Oh, there's a video about it. Okay. Like, not perfect, but it works, and it's still more congruent, right? So the other context element, there's platform specific, right? So YouTube is different than native, is different than Meta, is different than whatever else, TikTok. But there's also the product market awareness element. So I talked about that a bit before. I'm not going to go into too much more because the next module in research is all about it. Well, let's go back to our overarching customer journey. So remember, we're trying to get our prospect from point A, seeing an ad, to point B, buying your product or service. So far, they've seen the ad, they've clicked the ad, they've landed on a context-specific page on your website. So it could be a page with a video after a YouTube ad or an advertorial after a native ad. And what happens next? Well, it still actually kind of depends, right? So let's stay on our native ad example to illustrate. Where do they go from an advertorial? And the paths can diverge. Now, I have this written out, but you sort of just saw it in real life, okay? So if the advertorial is really long and the product's not super expensive, then might go to a product page, right? I just clicked on these. I didn't have this planned. So you had the BugMD advertorial. It's quite long, and it goes to a product page. And what's the pricing? Switch to one-time purchase. Look at that, $24 each. You can get a single one for $34. Okay, that makes sense. All the selling just happens here, right? I'm super sold. I'm ready to buy. I don't need a lot of information. A bunch of FAQs in case I miss something. Don't need a ton of information, right? But, and I kind of talk about why here, but it's what I just said. Let's say it's really short. Okay, this is really short. Less than like 200 words. So where might it go here? Might go to VSL, video sales letter. Just like an online infomercial, right? We'll obviously talk a lot about VSLs. Why that? Well, because here, we just want to get them curious. There's this, secret thing for edema. But we're going to do a really long video sales letter selling them on it. Let me answer one question you might be thinking. Well, how do I know? Why should I do a VSL or should I do a long advertorial to a product page? And the answer is, and this will continue to be the answer we'll talk about throughout RMBC 2, is that both probably work, to be honest with you. Fewer and fewer people do long form video sales letters on landing pages. They still work though. And some people are, that's what I've grown up on. That's how I was raised. That's what works. So, that's cool. The thing is, and I think I talk about this later. I know I talk about it later in RMBC 2. There's no single right way to sell. There's some hypothetical you can imagine this hypothetical optimal funnel that's the perfect funnel, perfect information, but you will never have perfect information or complete information. And so all you're doing is hypothesizing, guessing, and testing things. So for brands, when you're do I need a VSL? Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe long advertorial to a nice product page does enough for you, okay? Maybe then you test the VSL, short advertorial to a video sales letter. There's no magic answer. Again, I do give you a training that kind of tells you helps you select kind of an ideal optimal funnel strategy. It's in part, I guess 12 or 13 or something. So, but that's a baseline, but really you have to experiment and find out what works best, right? Which is one of the reasons marketing is hard. It was always hard, but going back to the state of marketing in 2025, it's especially hard because there's so much stuff is context specific on platforms, product market awareness, and all of that. It used to be back in the day, basically any ad goes to a video sales letter, goes to checkout and print. But that's not what you see anymore. A lot of people who are struggling, who used to do really well and who struggle now, who are business owners, brands, stuff like that, it's because they're still trying to make that model work and they're not mentally adjusting to the fact that that's not reality anymore. Reality now is that there's a lot of different things that work, and often a video sales letter on landing page isn't one of them. Again, can work, often not the move, right? And so marketing changes, technology changes, platform change, consumer habits change, psychology changes, all these things change. You have to change too. So we'll spend a lot of time talking about video sales letters in this course, of course. But what is it doing? On a page, a landing page like this one, it's going to hook a prospect in the first 5 seconds, create curiosity, build rapport and establish credibility, often have a hero's journey story. What does that mean? It means that I started off here, I'm a reluctant hero. I was here, life was fine, but something pulled me into action. I was suffering, somebody I knew was suffering. I noticed that things weren't right. And so I got called to action to where I had to go figure out a real solution to this suffering, right? And in order to do that, I had to find out the real reason why people suffer, and I found the real solution. And that's what the unique mechanism is. And everything I'm talking about, we'll have more detail on that. Ultimately, I discovered, created, partnered with somebody to have this product that was the best manifestation of that solution, the easiest, most convenient, most price effective, right? All that. It's got lots of high perceived value. It should cost a lot more than it does, but it's going to be a great deal for you. Buy the product. Okay? That's at a really broad level what a VSL does, especially an on-page VSL. Sort of similar for in-feed VSLs that run as an ad on Facebook or Instagram, but sometimes it's not. And we'll get into the differences for RMBC 2. But let's take a brief pause here, okay? We've started from understanding what copywriting is and what direct response copywriting is. We're looking at the initial customer journey, the role of ads, platform context, how different types of ads lead to different initial landing page experiences like advertorials or VSLs. And so you're kind of getting a glimpse into the strategic thinking that's involved here. Let's continue our journey. So once they've gotten to an advertorial or a video sales letter or a product page, we still need them to take another action, which is adding a product to their cart and then checking out. And the checkout, there's still work to be done because we gotta get them to do kind of the craziest stuff on the checkout page. They gotta enter their personal information, enter their credit card details. They're gonna mentally prepare to part with their money, make the final commitment by clicking place order. And so even the copy and the style of the checkout page can vary dramatically, which we'll explore more in RMBC2, and I mentioned it in the first sort of overview video too. But once they do that, the good news is we've conceptually completed the first customer journey, getting them from point A, not a paying customer, to point B. And it's exciting, but you might be sitting here thinking, damn, marketing can be hard. And you know what? It can be, especially in 2025, when you consider all the individual components and how they can be combined in different ways, right? There's different ad types that go to different pre-sale pages, but maybe they don't. Maybe they just go right to a sales page, aka PDP. I put product pages like different than sales page. Like we'll get into that later. Checkout flows. There's like a lot of stuff. So it feels like a lot, but it doesn't really have to be so overwhelming, because when we zoom out, all we're really doing, I mean, I honestly could just put like, yeah, this is like a VSL lander, I would say. And this is a PDP, like. But whatever, okay. All it really is like add VSL checkout. That's sort of like the classic model. Still can work. Add advertorial VSL checkout. Add advertorial VSL product page checkout. Add product page checkout. Add advertorial product page checkout. And actually, this is probably the most common one used by most people I know doing 8 figures in e-com. But the ad might be a video sales letter ad, might be something else. Okay, but the point is it is less overwhelming. So the type of ad, all these things could vary, but we're going to cover all of that systematically throughout RMBC2. And I have this infographic that I created that I mentioned briefly in the overview of sort of, you may have started this video here. I just took you through the bowels of marketing hell, but you will make it to the other side. Okay? And while you're doing this journey, you're going to have a huge advantage, which is that you're going to see transparency into what already works. And what I mean by that is the simplest way to write effective copy for any product or service is to just model what other successful brands selling similar products or services are already doing. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, and you shouldn't. You just need to model off of what's working. And so I talk about swiping a lot in RMBC2, and it's also really the foundation of all of the copy generation stuff that we do. So we'll dissect tons of effective copy across every stage of the sales funnel. We'll look at real examples, we'll see what's working, and we'll give you the knowledge so you can create similar assets very quickly. And like I just alluded to, it gets even better because thanks to the rise of large language models and LLMs and the specific processes you will learn inside RMBC2, it's now easier than ever to write great copy for all these funnel assets in anywhere from 5 minutes to maybe a few hours at most. And yeah, this is a radical shift from when I did the original RMBC back in 2020, because that was like a game changer, because I showed people how to write a great sales letter in like a week instead of 8 weeks. It's crazy. This is 5 years. So 5 years ago, the idea of writing a great sales letter, like a long form video sales letter in a week, was like mind blowing, right? Now, and for me, it was like 12 to 16 hours. Like, oh my God, that's dinosaur time, right? You should be able to write a great VSL in like a couple of hours. Now, you know, I mean, like I put here, I could write 2 to 4 high quality VSLs in a single day. You're starting out, it might take you longer, but like definitely no more than 5 days. And even though the idea of writing in a week when I did RMBC 1 and 5 days is kind of a week now, but the amount of time you spend will be, just spend way less hours doing it, because it's really more about thinking than it is with writing, the whole copy thinker versus copywriter, right? And that's just VSLs, but the same process, the same, I guess, acceleration, sorry, I can't talk apparently, applies to every other aspect of copywriting too. This is a huge part of RMBC too. Like it's really not, RMBC 1 people were like, oh, it's really about VSLs. RMBC 2 is not really about VSLs. It's about, there's a lot of video stuff, video ads, short ads, meta, all that. But it's really about the whole holistic marketing journey for direct to consumer, utilizing direct response copywriting elements and other direct response marketing elements. And so you can see how to use these different tools to just, I mean, I put 5 to 10 advertorials. You could do like 100 advertorials in a day, honestly. 20 to 40 good ads in a single day, hundreds of promising angles and hooks, a compelling upsell in about an hour. I mean, more like 15 minutes. Once you have the process, 5 minutes, you'll see. Because I wrote this before I even created RMBC. I made my processes even better while doing RMBC 2. Email sequences in an hour, same thing. I mean, honestly, like it's really like 10 minutes. I promise you. I guess if you include like editing, changing stuff, like whatever, okay, maybe it's an hour, but you'll get great, really basically better than what 99% of people are going to write in like 10 minutes, 5 minutes once you use these cloud projects and you've done the legwork in initial time. All this deep research, especially on just like the research part, like that I talked about in part 1, product market awareness, competitive research, psychographics, and PDPs as well. Okay, and this is all proven. You put my money. I'll put my money where my mouth is. I mean, like I don't know. Like put me to the test. Is what I'm trying to say. You'll go through RMBC 2. You tell me when you're done going through this if it's not the craziest thing you've ever seen. It doesn't completely shift the way you view everything with copywriting and marketing. Okay. And I put it here that we're living in this golden age where AI handles much of the heavy lifting. And really, it's about your knowledge, strategic thinking, and confidence as a copywriting expert that is a critical differentiating factor. Okay? And so for RMBC 2, that's what we're going to do. We're going to deconstruct every type of copy you're likely to encounter, no matter what your role is. If you're a freelance copywriter, an in-house marketer, an executive, a business owner, you're going to understand the theory, the structure, all the essential elements, the ability to discern what makes good copy versus good, mediocre or bad, and again, plenty of examples. Then we'll accelerate with AI. You'll be given these specific processes for just generating endless AI. That's AI, like endless copywriting outputs that are extremely good. Oftentimes they're basically our final draft. And you'll be shown how to think and edit like a top tier copywriter. But what's cool is you'll see is almost all of that editing is the way we're doing RMBC 2, and you can do it manually as well. Okay, but like usually it's telling Claude or whatever LM it is, hey, it's ideas. Hey, this doesn't make sense. We're missing a big idea here. Let's come up with some big ideas, some hooks. Okay, that's good. Hey, we said this. I think it would be better if we did this. Okay, and so that's, like I said, I keep saying it, copy thinker, not a copywriter. And I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but it really is actually, I'm so glad I thought of it while doing these videos this morning, because that really is like the crucial difference is it frees you to think. And so thinking is important. I can't stress that enough, right? Like, hopefully RMBC 2 helps you think differently and helps you think like a marketer, like a strategist, like a copy thinker, okay? If it doesn't, that's kind of problematic. It should, but like, that's something you can be doing regardless of this course, is like focusing on how to think. And there's good books on it. I'll do a bonus module or something about some books that talk to you about thinking. But you're really a thinker, right? And so then we get into the outline, which I went through in part, the first intro opening of RMBC 2. So I'll stop there, okay? And as I mentioned, we talked about A to B, but then we also have from B to C and D and E and F, right? For upsells, email marketing, how do you get them to buy more? I mean, abandoned carts technically are like they didn't buy the first time, but we get them to buy. But this stuff's getting them to buy more, all that, right? And some different bonuses. And like I said, I'll include more bonuses in, as we're going. So that's it. Right now, you just went through this part 1 foundations. Now we're going to get into deep research and then mechanisms and everything else I talked about in the previous video. So dive in, get started. I'm here to support. I'm excited to support. And LFG, as the kids would say. All right, thank you.